नमस्ते गुरुजी। जय गुरुजी महाराज। जय गुरुजी साथ संगत जी। शुक्राना। गुरुजी महाराज द मल्टीलिंगुअल सेवादार टीम आप सबका स्वागत करती है। गुरुजी महाराज की असीम कृपा से एक बार फिर आज हम सब एक मेमोरेबल सेशन सुनेंगे। आज का सेशन आकाश सेठी अंकल जी इनिशिएट करेंगे। ओवर टू यू आकाश सेठी अंकल। जय गुरुजी।
जय गुरुजी वासन अंकल, सारी सेवादार टीम को जय गुरुजी। और आज के रीडर्स को, ऑथर को जय गुरुजी, सभी अटेंड करने वाली संगत को जय गुरुजी। तो आई वाज जस्ट going through what is the task, and the task is quite demanding in the sense that two accomplished, highly accomplished readers going to read through a book authored by a highly accomplished man. And poor me, supposed to manage, but with Guruji's grace, everything happens. Everything happens as if I was trained, I was fit to handle all this. So the book is called Guruji, Life and Spiritualism. गुरुजी जीवन एवं आध्यात्मिकता, और उसका एक खूबसूरत सत्र, तीसरा सत्र है ये, लाइफ जर्नी ऑफ अ महापुरुष, अ ब्यूटीफुल लाइफ, इज गोइंग टू बी read by Ankita Malhotra, Dr. Ankita Malhotra, who's a sports medicine specialist, orthopedic, and HOD at FSSA. And 16 years she has been part of mastering golf-related medical problems. And at Ultimate Golf, she heads that particular aspect. She's also a trainer, also a mental therapist, also a mental wellness expert. I don't know what all. And today we say all this about her in all humility, that given all her accomplishments, she was inducted into Guruji's class. हम सबको एडमिशन मिलता था, तो इनको बेहद जल्दी एडमिशन मिल गया था while she was in school, and Guruji was in Jalandhar. So she got the admission, so naturally had to be accomplished, had to be, say, something out of the ordinary. Talk a little about, very cautiously, I'll talk a little about the second Sangat, all very senior Sangat members. I don't know whether she's a doctorate or not, Srimati Lalith Mathur. उनके विषय में मैं बहुत ज़्यादा नहीं कहूँगा, क्योंकि अंग्रेजी की बेहद वरिष्ठ अध्यापिका रही हैं। अंग्रेजी बोलने का दुस्साहस नहीं करूँगा। मैटरडे स्कूल, I don't know whether my pronunciation is right or not. After that, Delhi Public School. Graduated from Lady Sri Ram College. Post-graduated from Delhi University. I'm highly indebted to two institutions, in the sense that DPS is the school my wife and her both brothers have studied, Mathura Road. Delhi University is where my better half works. She's really better than me. And won't speak much in English because somewhere pronunciation mistake will happen, and Mathur ma'am will not like it much. So बिना कुछ बहुत ज़्यादा भूमिका बांधते हुए निमंत्रण देता हूं आज के रीडर्स को रीडिंग का सत्र शुरू करने के लिए, आरंभ करने के लिए। जय गुरुजी, फ्लोर इज ऑल योर्स। सो आप में फैसला तो हो चुका होगा पहले कौन पढ़ने वाला है, इतना तारतम्य तो बिठा ही लिया होगा। तो प्रथम जो वाचन करता है वो अपना आरंभ करें।
I think I'll start. Jai Guruji. This is a very overwhelming platform, and it is, I think it is Guruji's grace, and it is Guruji's wish that this platform has been created. And we still, even when Guruji was there in the physical form, we used to tremble to say anything in front of Guruji, whether it was doing even satsangs, whether it was even speaking anything about Guruji. We used to tremble because um, knowing all along this time that Guruji was way above the human form, and he was, God in front of us, and he had come in that human form in front of us. So it was a very difficult battle to, to be in a certain way in front of him all the time. And we would tremble. We would tremble all the while when Guruji would talk to us, or when we would be told to say anything. So the situation is the same, because the feeling is the same. And we know for a fact that everything has been designed by him. Every planning has been made by him. This day has been decided by him. This moment has been decided by him. So Jai Guruji, and just bowing down in extreme gratitude and love towards him all the time, every second of the day. We will start with today's session. We are here gathered to talk about the book Life and Spiritualism by ROUL uncle, who is a very, very trusted and close disciple of Guruji. And it's been truly a beautiful journey, spending so many beautiful moments with him, with Auntie, with my mom and dad. And there are memories that can never be erased. And it's been a journey. It's been a journey with Guruji, with this Parivar. And we are here today to talk about the book that he has written on Guruji's Adesh. And we'll start with that. This entire creation, the cosmos, including the universe, we know follows a rhythm, and that rhythmic flow has a purpose. The time, place, and person are all interconnected. And we have seen all of this through Guruji's ways. Guruji, being the creator, taught us that there is a time for everything in life. And he taught us how to develop that kind of patience to observe the flow of life. And he also taught us in that process to surrender and trust him. And it's amazing how this is exactly how the cosmos and how the universe functions. And Guruji, through his ways, taught us to be one with the universe and to understand its functioning. So Guruji was so much way above just being a Mahapurush and, doing miracles in front. He taught us actually how to live life and how to relate our life to the universe, to the cosmos, to understand things at such a deep, at such an integral level, that our quality of life basically improves, or we understand how it is that he wants us to lead our life. And all this has been brought out so beautifully in this book, that we can take this book as a reminder as to look beyond the miracles, and to understand that it is more important for us to lead a fulfilling life by keeping him in our mind in the way we function every second of the day. Raul uncle has very aptly tried to unravel the regional history through this book, the civilizational history, and he's given the connections of the events and places uh, to the ones that Guruji visited, and stayed. So there is a reason behind all the cities and all the places that Guruji chose to be in. And the two probable connections that come up are the first one being the place either needed healing because of immense wounds since ages in that area, or the place had some spiritual significance and that resonated with the teachings or with the spiritual teachings of Guruji. And these are the two reasons why Guruji chose the places that he chose. And it's not by chance that he was in Jalandhar, Chandigarh, Jaipur he visited. Every city has some links, has some stories behind it, because of which our Guruji chose these places. From Chandigarh, when Guruji shifted in 1984 to 85 in Jalandhar, as it was also called as Andak as per the Shiv Puran, which was actually the capital city of the demon king. And the irony is, this demon king was given powers by the gods to have supernatural powers. And eventually, the demon became very arrogant and deviant. And when he became this arrogant and deviant, even the gods could not defeat him. And as the Lord of Lords, Lord Shiva, finally was called upon, and he fought a great battle eventually and killed the demon. Jalandhar is also associated with Mahasiddha Yogi Jalandhar under various Nath traditions. Others also say that it was established by Love, the son of Ram, under the guidance of sage poet Valmiki. Also, there is another version to Jalandhar that it is a place between the two water bodies, hence the name Jalandhar. But whatever be the origin, in a nutshell, very, very important events of Indian history and civilization. This just goes to say that no wonder Guruji chose this place. And as we know, in Guruji's being in Guruji's fold and being Guruji's Sangat, that nothing was a coincidence. And when we read about this history, as Raul Uncle has written in the book, and as I just put it down in a gist, there are immense reasons to validate the fact why Guruji chose this city. When Guruji came to Jalandhar, first he settled in Model Town, and then he rented a house in Mota Singh Nagar. And from there, he moved to plot number 300. He had always a very city. It was open to the devotees. Any darshan would be served chai prasad and langar. We know for a fact that the devotees found a lot is related to the fact we. Am I audible now? I just lost it. That when we reached Guruji,
Nikki Aunty, you are audible. You may slightly speak in high volume. The volume is low. Yeah.
Volume is okay. So when we reached Guruji in Jalandhar, the environment was exactly as Uncle has described in 1992. And the first feeling that we got when we reached, in fact, after facing a terrible, terrible accident, and that's a long story, but just cutting it in short, when we reached that in that situation where our prayers would be answered. Looking at good was peaceful. Being in that environment was so peaceful, and it just felt like home. And that is the feeling that Jalandhar Mandir, all of Jalandhar Mandir, was so aesthetically the so of statue of I'm so sorry. I think the connection was this thing. Hoping the connection will be fine thereafter. Okay. So the main hall, as we know, was all all decorated as per Guruji's Adesh and as per Guruji's wishes. Uh, and there was immense peace throughout, and it was very informal. Again, citing some instances, since we reached the Jalandhar Mandir in 1992, my mother, Sudarshan Malhotra, was usually doing a lot of kitchen seva, and she was in charge of the kitchen seva a lot in the Jalandhar Mandir. And Guruji had such informal methods and ways in Jalandhar, which were amazing. Guruji would sometimes just enter the kitchen, and when the chai prasad was being made, he would actually come and ghumao the spoon in the chai prasad. Sometimes he would come and he would take a handful of, the tea leaves and put it into the tea. Sometimes the sugar. It was such a beautiful and informal setting that we relate the Jalandhar Mandir to, even to the fact that Guruji would sometimes, with his own hands, serve the rotis, the roti prasad on his own to people when they were sitting down for Langar Prasad, which was not a very standard routine, but whenever it was, the Langar Prasad was, many times the roti prasad was served by Guruji. And these are the joyful moments of Jalandhar Mandir that always come in mind, where the feeling of being with him and understanding that he was actually the incarnation of Lord Shiv, and at the same time, with Guruji being in that human form, how he was a part of the worldly things also that were happening. There's a small incident from the Jalandhar Mandir. There was a time when my mother wanted to get something for the Jalandhar Mandir, and she was thinking what is required, and she could not pinpoint her mind onto as to what was required. And she was making chai prasad, and suddenly Guruji walked in, and he just came and he said that this gas is not working very fine, right? He said it's not working very fine. So why don't you just get a new gas cylinder, the gas which worked with the cylinder? Why don't you just get a new gas tomorrow? These were Guruji's ways, and how he was involved in the small functionings of the Jalandhar Mandir. Go to say that Guruji was being a god also. He was so on earth and so much a part of the day-to-day life and the day-to-day functioning of the entire system. So from this place, from Jalandhar, Guruji went to Greater Kilash, and then after a couple of months of holding the Sangat in Greater Kilash, on 3rd July 1995, Guruji abruptly left the Sangat, with Gariwal uncle, and he went to the army mess courtesy General Mohan Singh. We were there as well. We were there with Guruji when he went there. However, from there, Guruji suddenly left towards Dugri, and he was very, very silent all through the way. And when he was asked about the unusual silence, Guruji mentioned about the sudden death of his elder brother in a freak accident. And due to the immense bleeding that he had succumbed to his injuries. And that is why Guruji left and Guruji went to Dugri. This goes to show that Guruji was loving his biological family as well as equally loving his followers and the humanity at large. He did what he had to do. He did played his role. He just and from there, from Dugri, Guruji then returned to Jalandhar. He returned to Jalandhar. Guruji was not keeping. I wouldn't say. I would just say that he needed. Probably he had taken a lot on himself. He was not doing very well for some time, and on so he did not meet the Sangat. He had probably shut the doors of the Jalandhar Mandir for some time, but there were some sevadars who were in and out, including my mother. And one interesting episode, however, that happened when Guruji was in this situation in Jalandhar, one very nice, light-hearted moment that has been written down by Raul Uncle in the book is, so one day Guruji ordered Vimal to bolt his room from outside when he was meditating. Guruji would go in for meditating. And when he was meditating, Guruji ordered Vimal uncle to bolt the door, and he dutifully obeyed and went to sleep. And there was no one in the temple that day except Guruji and Vimal uncle. Early in the morning, Guruji woke up Vimal by shaking him. And Guruji told him to prepare tea for both of them. But Vimal uncle was wondering how Guruji managed to come out of his room when he had bolted it from outside. And Guruji looked at him very mischievously with a wry smile, and Vimal uncle understood. Because for Guruji, nothing was impossible. And these are the ways by Guruji showed that, uh, that anything could happen by being in his fold or being in his grace. You could be witnessing miracles every second without you even realizing it. And then when you would put two and two together, you would realize, oh my God, how did this happen? This was the experiences, and these were the moments with Guruji, which are beyond what can be described. On another incident that happened very lightly on a lighter note again in Jalandhar was that my father was posted there, and one day he suddenly told my father to get an open gypsy. And these are the ways how there were times when I would say that Guruji would just be himself, and he just asked for an open gypsy. So my father got one gypsy, and the army gypsy, which was open. And Guruji just sat in it, and Guruji said that take me for a spin, like take me for a round, and I want to just, go for a ride in the open gypsy. And dad, Papa took him for a spin, and then my dad was told to drop Guruji back. And so many times in Jalandhar, one day Guruji asked for dad's car, and Guruji in Jalandhar took his car along with the driver. My dad was not there in the car. He just asked for the car, and the car was given to Guruji along with the driver. And Guruji took the car somewhere. We don't know. There were a lot of times when Guruji would go somewhere and not everybody would know. And suddenly my father realized that there was not enough petrol in the car. And he was a little worried. But when he came back, my dad was waiting there, and my dad just asked the driver that I just really forgot to put petrol. So the driver just jokingly smiled and said that जितना पेट्रोल था उतना ही पेट्रोल बचा हुआ है. पेट्रोल तो कभी यूज ही नहीं होता जब गुरुजी गाड़ी में होते हैं. And these were the small instances which started speaking volumes about Guruji's power, and Guruji being so magnanimous in his ways as God. In Jalandhar, Guruji had this uncanny, ways of sitting with the Sangat on the floor, and he used to engage in small conversations, have light-hearted conversations, and informally talk to, the Sangat around. And sometimes this informality, like Uncle has written, concealed the real Guruji of the worldly and spiritual wisdom that he had. Defense Colony was the place where Guruji attracted scores of defense personnel like, Joshi Uncle, General Mohan Singh, my dad, General Malhotra, General Ahuja, Lieutenant General Kapoor, a lot of IPS officers, Mr. Prakash Singh, IG Board Security, DG, Director General Police, DGP, Assam, Mr. Bhular IPS, extended family of Sardar Umrao Singh and the Agarwals, the Sondis, the family of Paras from Phagwara, etc. And Guruji loved all these dignitaries and loved the armed forces personnel. And Guruji would say that the armed forces personnel, he really loved them because they were doing a lot of Desh Seva, and their heart was clear, and they understood spirituality and were not cunning. These were Guruji's words, as quoted by my father. And these are the kind, and this is how Guruji saw, and this is how Guruji blessed people of such high stature and such higher positions, because it is through them that a lot of people would get a lot of benefit in life. So Guruji had his ways, he had his means to call all these people and to bless all of them, which we started obviously seeing a lot in Jalandhar. Now coming to the story of the the barber of Guruji, Kishori uncle from model town, Jalandhar. Initially, when Guruji would go to Kishori uncle's barber shop, he did not realize Guruji's powers. But one day, he tried to shave Guruji's head, and he could not even run the razor on Guruji's head, as the head would turn hard as stone. And then he realized that Guruji had supernatural powers. He then fell at the feet of Guruji and prayed for forgiveness for his ignorance. Guruji blessed him then, and when Guruji shifted his base from Panchkula to Chandigarh, he would render his services every day. So he basically stayed with Guruji there, and Guruji took care of all his worldly financial needs, took care of his family. And this, through these incidents, through these kind of Sangat, we learned over a period of time the importance of surrender. Because there were many times Guruji would ask you to do certain things which were beyond the normal functioning of of your day-to-day life or your planning of your life, and you would wonder that how, if we do as Guruji is saying, how will XYZ things be taken care of? But eventually, through the years, we realized that we were not the ones who were anyway supposed to take care of anything. It was Guruji, and it has been Guruji, it will always be Guruji. Our duty was to listen to his Adesh with utmost humility and surrender to what he told us to do without worrying about the consequences, and leave that to him to handle. And this is how Guruji showed his ways. One very apt example being what we just talked about, Kishori uncle, the official barber of Guruji. Guruji's blessings were through many ways in Jalandhar. For one, the Rudraksh Mala in water that Guruji used to put, which used to become Amrit. There was an operation room where he used to scan the body with a spoon. He used to put betel leaves, pan ke patte, as Guruji would say. And there was another way, which was through the spoon and through fire. Like he would light a matchbox and he would heat the spoon and put it on the eyes. I have been treated like that by Guruji. I also had the immense blessings of also being treated by betel leaves. My father's body was scanned through the spoon, and he had some back pain and back issues, which completely got cured. My mother's restless leg syndromes went away with the spoon. I was treated, like I said, through all these methods. And these were Guruji's ways in Jalandhar, where he would use these to cure the Sangat. These were uh, as Guruji, I feel that as Guruji went on, in years to come ahead, his powers became more and more and more so powerful that the requirement for these things also just went away. And it was just being in his presence uh, was enough to cure us of our problems in life. Moving on from here, there is a very nice incident about Dr. Shashi Ahuja, who was the daughter-in-law of General Ahuja and Mrs. Savitri Ahuja, again very ardent followers of Guruji, and who had a lot of devotion to Guruji. But Dr. Shashi Ahuja had the least devotion to Guruji at that time. And how Guruji, we know how Guruji has his methods to get the devotion and how to make every person understand his ways in a personalized way. I would say Guruji would talk to you in a language that you would understand. So making probably anybody understand about Guruji was very, very individualized. So maybe Guruji talked to me in a certain way, but Guruji talked to somebody else in a certain way, because that is the language that we understood. So seeing here also, when Dr. Shashi Ahuja came to Guruji, Guruji asked her whether she had a stomach problem, and she did. She had peptic ulcer for the last 6 years. So Guruji ordered her to get betel leaves, which also she thought in her mind that it's some marketing, for the betel leaves. So she was basically questioning the ways that Guruji was taking. So anyway, she got the betel leaves and she was taken to this operation room in Jalandhar, where she was asked to lie down, but she was hesitant for that too. So knowing her mind, how Guruji made us so comfortable, wherever we would have any sense of doubt, he allowed her husband also to come in, and they were made to lie down for an hour. And Guruji, when he put the betel leaves, he spoke some incomprehensible mantras. And once it was done, after an hour, they were asked to throw the leaves on the Chandigarh Phagwara road. And as we know, and it's not shocking for us anymore, the pain had disappeared. But the irony was that still she was reluctant to accept the miraculous healing. So, 2 years later, she developed acute pain accompanied by vomiting and diarrhea. She was in the ICU. It is during that time she realized it was happening because of doubting Guruji. She prayed and her prayers worked. And as we all know, she prayed with a heart to Guruji. And in Guruji's characteristic ways of healing, she got cured with absolute minimal medication, with absolute minimal medication to her. So through these things, we see how Guruji was so benevolent. He was so forgiving. He was always ready to love us, even if we faltered and even if we took time in understanding his ways. He was ready to embrace us, uh, anytime and again. Once we realized that we had probably doubted, in his doings and in what he was doing, he was always ready to take us back in his fold. And where will you in this life ever find anybody overpouring love towards us? And all that Guruji asked us also, as an individual, as a human being, from us towards him, was always also just pure love and a pure heart and mind. So all these wonderful incidents that have been written down in the book go to explain each and every teaching of Guruji through these ways. During Guruji's days in Jalandhar, there were many day trips to various places in Punjab, sometimes for inaugurations, for weddings, for business, openings, for housewarmings. And there used to be caravans of vehicles that would follow. And the houses of Dr. Baldev Singh Chehil and the Gerwals of Mandi Govindgarh were very frequented spots. On one of the visits, Sukhi Brar was also part of the caravan, and some snag happened, and her car broke down. And during that time, when her car broke down, she wrote the famous song for Guruji, Aaj Sade Guru Avana Ji, Aaj Sade Guru Avana Ji, which became the signature tone for Guruji's arrival in any formal Sangat. So such were Guruji's ways, how this song, which is so looked up to and is played even now in all the in all the places where we want to welcome Guruji, came up in this at this time. Talking about the caravans, we've been a part of so many caravans, and every time Guruji would take you in a caravan. This is what again, through these methods we see the most important things that Guruji taught us: surrender, no questioning, no putting your mind to use, no asking. So there were times that Guruji would suddenly make us get up, and Guruji would say ki chalo gaddi lagao, nede lagao ya magre lago. And we would not ever ask why, where are we going, what is happening. We would just follow the instructions. And there's so many times when we have gone in these caravans to so many places here and there. And so many times when we have traveled, because we never knew that there would be an outing like that when the vehicle has had no petrol, and we have managed the entire journey with absolute minimal petrol. That is, I think, that's a satsang which a lot of people would be talking about, but it used to happen. But the beauty was that Guruji had started teaching us, and we had started probably learning that in front of Guruji's Adesh, there was never any question, there was never any worry, there was nothing to think about and nothing to worry about. On one such caravan, one day Guruji was sitting in the car and my father was driving, and it was absolutely foggy in front. And my dad was a little worried because it was foggy. He did not want to falter, and probably there was less petrol as well. And Guruji just looked at him and just said, कि बस सीधे सीधे देखो और सीधे सीधे बस चलाते जाओ. And Papa got a lot of relief on hearing that. And thereon it was a straight journey, and they reached the destination very, very easily. So these all these incidents that have happened, I say, are phenomenal in teaching us about life. It is not about we went in a caravan, but what did it teach us? This entire incident has taught us all of this and so much more. Moving on from here, Guruji, we now come to the time when General Ahuja, as we were talking, they were in Chandi Mandir at this time. And Uncle General Ahuja was a probable candidate for being promoted to Lieutenant General from Major General. But his name was 8th on the list with 5 vacancies. So when he visited Guruji in distress and Guruji addressed him as Lieutenant General, and thereby after that, Uncle got 3 extensions in services, and thereby he was promoted to Lieutenant General in Lucknow in 93 to 95. And when they reached Lucknow, they kept calling Guruji, and Guruji assured them that at his own time and will he would come. And Guruji went to Lucknow in January 95. And that was the time when Uncle was retiring from the army. And Guruji was there during that week of retirement. And through word of mouth and through spreading, the message that Guruji was there, uh, Guruji's qualities of supernatural power and being there was spread, and lots of army people and civilian people kept coming. The house was ever increasing in Sangat, right from people spreading into lawns and drawing rooms. So Guruji spread his blessings to so many people in Lucknow. While he was there was a very interesting incident that happened. The power system has suddenly failed, and the electricians had been summoned. And but Guruji told Gitika, who was the daughter, to play the Shabads, but there was no electricity at home. So when she politely told Guruji that there was no electricity supply, Guruji very firmly told her to play the music system. So she switched it on. As we know, beyond a certain point, there is no thought process that we would have, and we would surrender to what he was saying. So she played on the music system, and the Shabads started playing. And the Shabads kept playing for those couple of hours, with the entire house being without electricity. So such were Guruji's ways, such were his miraculous methods of telling us that uh, he's so much more beyond, and beyond what meets the eye. And he didn't leave any stone unturned in teaching us, in showing us all of this. At this time only, again, a very interesting incident happened, which was in probably in 94, which was why I'm talking about this is because it is related to General Ahuja only. In 94, General Ahuja had a house in Chandigarh, and probably they had come in 94 for a bit, maybe for a small break or something, to Chandigarh. And my father got posted, and we were still to get the accommodation. We still hadn't gotten the accommodation, and Guruji very clearly said that he told my mother, specifically my mother and father, to go and stay in General Ahuja's house in Panchkula, and to take the keys from them. Their house was still getting some finishing touches, and Guruji gave very clear instructions to go to the house to meet auntie. So my mother did that. She went, and General Ahuja auntie and uncle, being such ardent followers of Guruji, did not even flinch for a second. My parents just said that Guruji said to take the keys, and they just handed over the keys without a question, without saying anything. And the keys were given, and we started shifting into that house. We were going to be staying on the first floor, so it was a duplex house. So auntie said that the ground floor, there was a lot of work being done, so she told us to take the first floor part. So we shifted there, and that evening when we were shifting, so we probably reached the house around 5:30 after doing a couple of work and everything. So our helper who was there, he told my mother that you got late. So my mother did not understand what it meant that you got late. There was no time as such. And then he said that Guruji had come, and Guruji was asking that Malhotras have come. And my mother was so heartbroken because she missed, seeing Guruji or meeting Guruji. We all missed meeting Guruji when he had come unannounced. So she prayed in her heart that she didn't say anything. We would never say anything to Guruji, but we all prayed in our heart that Guruji, please come again. And that night we slept off. But my mother told us that we would not light the gas, or we would not, burn the chula till Guruji comes. It was just a thought and a prayer deep inside. And lo and behold, at 7 o'clock the next day in the morning, the doorbell rings and Guruji was there. And he walked into the house, Ahuja auntie's house, and he came in and he gave us so much love. And he sat there, he went into meditation, and that day, the chula got on, and Guruji came in alone, but he told us to get ready for a sangat in the afternoon with the lunch part. And that is how the Ahuja uncle's house also got blessed in Chandigarh with this incident. So it's an amazing life journey with him, where he was there in each and every part of ours and everyone's life and blessing us all the way through. In 1994, one fine morning, Guruji left Jalandhar to General Mohan Singh's residence in Jaipur. A lot of Shradhalus started dropping in to their house through word of mouth. Dignitaries like Brigadier Bhavani Singh, MVC, Jaipur Maharaja Savai Madho Singh II, and all these high dignitaries started noticing a lot of changes in their quality of life, whether it was feeling better physically, whether it was feeling better from arthritis, etc., in a very, very short span of time. Uh, since the number of followers had increased so much, and when Guruji went back from Jaipur to Jalandhar, and all the followers started coming to Jalandhar now, so Guruji had to make another visit to Jalandhar. So he made another visit to Jalandhar after a month, since the following had increased so much, and there were so many Sangat who would really wanting Guruji's blessings. So he went back after a month. And one such incident, which is again a very historic incident which happened, was it's called the Bin Badal Barsat. So Brigadier Bhavani Singh had invited Guruji to his palace for an evening satsang and langar. And he was taking Guruji around like a tourist guide, particularly to the Chandra Mahal, to areas that weren't even accessible to visitors. So during this time, in when Brigadier Bhavani Singh was having his conversation with Guruji, he mentioned that the most enjoyable moment for the royals was when the rain comes and when they would sit on the terrace and listen to the songs composed with Rag Megh Malhar. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Rag Megh Malhar, yeah. And he was getting very nostalgic about the whole thing, and he was basically pining for the rains. And Guruji suddenly he prophesied that do not worry, the rains will come. And that did not seem possible at all because there were no clouds in the sky. There was no chance of getting a rain. However, suddenly there appeared a lonely cloud and there was a mild rain. It was like the Gurbani says, Bin Badil Barkha Hue, Je Jatguru no Bhai, Je Satguru no Bhai. Sorry, I'll say it again. Bin Badil Barkha Hue, Je Satguru no Bhai. If the Lord Satguru is benevolent and willing, there will be rains without cloud. And this is what Guruji yet again showed over there, that even the laws of nature and anything that you ask for, which we have related God to, everything was in Guruji's hands. If he willed it, it would happen and it could happen. And it was such a beautiful experience for everyone because we knew that, I mean, even nature was in his hands and he could call upon nature to do whatever he wished should happen. In the same era, in the same phase, when Guruji was in this Jaipur, there was no water for almost 80 years in some tube wells and in some areas in Jaipur. There was a lot of dried wells over there. And Guruji was anyway blessing several devotees from ailments, and the news of his supernatural powers had started spreading. And this incident where the village wells were dry for 80 years, and Guruji, in his characteristic way, told the villagers, Jao Kalyan Kitta. This was Guruji's signature line. So he said one day, Ki Jao Kalyan Kitta. And after a couple of days, the villagers in Panchayat were shouting out, Ki Guru Baba Ki Jai. Because when they reached Brigadier, and because the water had come into the wells, and they finally reached Brigadier Mohan Singh's residence to thank Guruji. And they were advised by Guruji that they should never sell the water from the well. This incident was another miraculous incident to show Guruji's to just show Guruji as the God on this earth and nothing else. And it was phenomenal. And I think these are incidents which should go down in history to show how Guruji had total control of the universe in his hands. And very interestingly, Jaipur is about 130 kilometers away from Ajmer, which is a sacred place of the famous Ajmer Sharif Dargan of the Sufi saint of the 12th century, Chishti. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Chishti. Now, Sufism focuses on the spiritual search for God and shuns materialism, emphasizing devotion to God, which is bhakti, self-discipline, and it stresses on inner purity. Service to humanity in Sufism is paramount to service to God. And no wonder all of Guruji's sayings and activities and whatever he tried to teach all his disciples and followers during this entire lifetime actually focused on all these sayings of the Sufis. So it is not by chance that Guruji was in Jaipur. It is not by chance that Guruji went beyond the teachings of religion, and he actually taught about life as a whole, taking in teachings from different eras, from different parts of religion, and putting it together for us together in one form to just make the best of our life and to learn the best of things from every nook and corner of spirituality, be it religion. And these were Guruji's ways. And I think this is how life needs to be looked upon. And again, really saying that this book has really come out in a fantastic way to bring all of this together and tell us that it is really time to start seeing life as a complete wholesome thing, that how Guruji is trying to make a difference in our life, and to start treading on that path rather than just living in the superficiality. Thank you. I think I will end here. Now I'll hand over to the next.
Thank you, Nikki Aunty. Thanks a lot. It was such a nice reading and beautiful explanation. So, Lalit Mathur Aunty goes next, and I would invite her to start reading her part of the session. Lalit Mathur Aunty.
जय गुरुजी के चरणों में सादर प्रणाम, and गुरुजी की संगत को भी मेरा प्रणाम. Thank you, Vasan uncle and Rahul uncle, for giving me this opportunity today. And very fine reading, Nikki aunty, and you summed it up very beautifully. I would like to begin by complimenting Rahul uncle for this extremely well-written, lucid, exhaustive book on Guruji. He provides deep, meaningful, profound insight into Guruji's life and philosophy. True to its title, it's a very well-researched book on Guruji's life and spiritualism. Rahul uncle has very aptly summed up how Guruji was the epitome of a Poon Guru, the perfect embodiment of love, compassion, humanity, and humility. An enlightened person, a friend, philosopher, and guide who would guide ordinary mortals through their journey, instilling in them right values like truthfulness, doing one's duty, seva, a positive attitude, and humility. Rahul uncle clarifies what constitutes true spiritualism and how we can move up on the spiritual path according to Guruji's tenets. He has successfully brought out the essence of the Poon Guru, his siddhis, his supernatural powers, his clairvoyance, third eye, and so many other powers. Rahul uncle has very beautifully put together Guruji's sayings and to capture his spiritual essence. A real Herculean task, I feel. He sees Guruji's healing powers and ability to cure the worst of diseases as a mere fraction of his immense capabilities as a divine spiritual being. He sees Guruji in totality. Consequently, I now understand and see in the correct perspective several aspects of what Guruji had said. Firstly, Guruji would say that he cut down 80% of our suffering, but not all. As Rahul uncle puts it on pages 241, 248, 278, 287, 287, Guruji taught us fortitude and strength to face our suffering, but did not want to interfere in our karmic suffering. I now understand the reason why he did this. The common belief had been that Guruji said this because otherwise people would have forgotten to thank the Almighty. I also thought like that till I read Uncle's book. Secondly, I also realized the significance of why Guruji said total surrender on pages 248 and 269. Rahul uncle says that it is the first step towards God. This also has become so much clearer. Thirdly, Guruji asked a few to read Shiv Puran. Rahul uncle puts it very succinctly on pages 307 to 311 that it was Guruji's way to guide us to Bhakti Yoga, which involves Shravan, Kirtan and Manan. This was on page 308. It puts the mind, to quote, in a positive groove and initiates the uninitiated to the great spiritual tradition and also deepens knowledge about Lord Shiva, unquote, page 310. Rahul uncle, I couldn't stop myself from complimenting you for the reinforcement and clarifications of all these aspects in your impressive book. Uncle, I would now like to ask you, how long did it take you to write the book? You know, it must have been a real monumental task. And you must have done a lot of reading and a lot of research before getting down to writing the book.
For the specific question asked by Mom, it took nearly 2 years. And it's a lot of reading, lot of conceptualizing and getting clarification of myself. By before Guruji, it was because of him. I could get the clarity and a little bit of a reinforcing my earlier understanding about spiritualism, like the tradition, the great spiritual tradition of this country. I relate Guruji's spiritualism to that continuity.
You have.
I'll pitch in here for a few seconds. I have, even though Empire Estate days, socializing was not encouraged, but Dr. Raul was such a person that you would see him as a very humble, very silent, very shy person, and move around doing all, always at seva, and not talking much to anybody. So I, given my habit of trying to make those people who don't talk, I make them talk generally, if I like those people. So that's how I got to know him so early. And I have seen that a person who has the content speaks very little, imbibes a lot. And then when he writes, it is a reflection of his knowledge, his feelings, and his emotions. So all that gets reflected in his book. If he has taken 2 years, a person different from him, who was not such an introvert, such a analyzing and deciphering person, would have taken at least 10 years. So compliments to you, Raul sir.
Very true,
Thank you.
because kind of insight that he has got into Guruji's, spirituality is something which has obviously come after a lot of reading and research. The things which, I mean, we of course just blindly believe Guruji if he said something, but a lot of things became so much clearer after reading Raul Uncle's book. Uncle, did Guruji trigger off your interest in philosophy and theology, Raul Uncle?
Sorry?
Did Guruji trigger off your interest in theology and religion, or was it always there?
It was a both.
Acha.
One can say.
Okay. On pages 17 to 29 of the first chapter, Rahul Uncle traces the life journey of our Guruji from Chandigarh to Jalandhar and then Greater Kilash, Delhi. He gives us a glimpse of Guruji's divinity, his power to assuage health problems and control over elements. Now, Nikki Aunty had beautifully read out that portion about the significance of Jalandhar. Rahul Uncle goes into the origin of city named Jalandhar. He attributes it to the demon, like she had read, demon Jalandhar or yogi Jalandhar or love. He also mentions it being a Buddhist center, a scene of many battles, and also that it witnessed the transmigration of population after partition. Uncle, what made you realize the spiritual significance of the places Guruji stayed in? This also must have required a lot of reading to see the connect between all these places, that it was not just random choice, but that he deliberately chose these places because, like Nikki Aunty said, that these places needed healing. They needed healing or because of their spiritual significance. But what made you, I mean, we now see it because you said it and it kind of strikes a note. But what made you see the significance, the spiritual significance?
We know the facts that where he was born, where he studied, and where he all went in his wanderings. Jalandhar was like his early headquarters. And then Chandigarh, he started his spiritual journey. He was known as Guruji from his Chandigarh days, early Chandigarh days. That was 1976 to 1983-84. So when I tried to put them together, I thought, like Nikki has said in the beginning, that each place, each event, and each person has some cosmic connection. This was the belief I had, and it got reinforced because of the Guruji's wanderings from one place to another place. Then I tried to find out what is the significance of the place. A, does it require some kind of spiritual healing? B, does it has some kind of a spiritual significance? And spiritual healings come from the historical incidents, like we have episodes in the history where so much of tragedy has happened at that particular place, whether it is Jalandhar, whether it's in Delhi, all these places. This part of the country, it has seen so many wars, so many civilizations have come, and it has progressed one after another. I cannot say they were demolished, but it was progressed one after another. So much of churning has taken place in these places. So that's why I thought, okay, then this place, it is my hypothesis that this place needs
very profound. Very profound and
this place needs some kind of a spiritual healing. But I have heard from Guruji when he was in Empire State, कि like दिल्ली से कदे महापुरुष आए नहीं. The meaning क्या है? Meaning is that it needs a Mahapurush for its healing. So that was the cue for me to talk about various places, how they are spiritually important or how they need spiritual healing. Like it was read today, and Nikki was explaining the place of Ajmer. He went to Ajmer also. It is,
Yes.
So he visited the Dargah. So these are the places like the Sufi kind of teachings or spiritualism quite imbibed in Guruji's teaching. So it has a significance. Jalandhar, as usual, it has been described. It is a part of a spiritual tradition, the Nath Sampradaya, the Buddhists, the earlier, our own civilization, starting from Harpan times to subsequent periods. Because if no historical evidence is found, that does not imply that the Vedic civilization was not part of this land. So that's how I thought I can put all this together.
Very profound. Very,
You
very
have
profound
you have
insight.
reminded me of a particular शेर. It says कि सदियों तलक एक ज़मीं अपनी बेनूरी पे रोती है, तब कहीं जाके होता है वहां पे दीदावर पैदा. Somebody who can see everything is born after that particular land has suffered for ages.
And
So
yeah.
applies
And I would
to
also say that even like Raul uncle has gone down to this because he went beyond his own his own personal gains from Guruji, in the sense ki what is happening to me, or today I've been cured of this, or this problem has been solved. So when you go beyond that and you start understanding that Guruji is just beyond all of this and he's so magnanimous, is when actually you get intrigued to understand more and more about his
Ways.
powers, which are all spread out, and that requires you to also step out of your own self and see things on a much more broader scale and a broader way, which I think has come out really beautifully.
Uncle, it would be interesting to know how and when you first realized Guruji's spirituality and that he was beyond, like you call him, a miracle man.
It was a gradual realization. It is not a sudden realization, definitely. Like we started, Urvashi started going from Jalandhar days. I had one meeting with Guruji in 1986, but that was a kind of fleeting moment and no kind of connection to any spiritual guru or anything. It was like any other meeting with one individual with another. But subsequently, 1996 onwards, when we started going to Guruji regularly and come across all these, like Nikki described, when you join together the incidents, then you realize this cannot happen just like people say, oh, these are coincidences or probabilities, because I am a student of science also. I am a student of science. But see, the probabilities or coincidences cannot happen. In science, it is said if an event is if occurs repeatedly, there is a law behind it.
Yes, very true.
So then all these things, when we listen to the satsangs, when Guruji's time, we also listen to the satsangs. Ambassador, as you know, people will Guruji will say, you describe, auntie tusi bolo, or koi uncle ko bolenge, you describe what happened. Then you also interact with people, they describe privately, one-to-one, their experiences. Then you put together, then it is something over. There's beyond the normal. Once you internalize that he is beyond the normal, you can ascribe that he's a God, he's a supernatural, or somebody else.
Like for us, what Guruji did for Aditi was so tremendous, was so miraculous, that it was that which convinced us of his divinity. I mean, in our case, of course, it was, that particular, his powers of the tremendous improvement in our vision that he brought. I mean, that was something which at once made us realize that it was much beyond reasoning and logic and science and what the doctors had been doing. No, you're true. I mean, it's very true that it's because of all the satsangs that we heard around and the miraculous things that he was doing for everybody in the Sangat. We have been extremely fortunate that Guruji took us in his Sharan in March 95. We first met Guruji at the GK Mandir. Can I elaborate on that? I mean, Nikki auntie has read so much about the Jalandhar Mandir. Unfortunately, we didn't visit Jalandhar Mandir, but yes, we started in the GK Mandir. My father had been operated for intestinal cancer, but he feared its recurrence. His friend told him about Guruji, so my father went to him on the 23rd March 95. Guruji blessed him on the very first day with betel leaves, like you've spoken about. Rahul uncle talks of Guruji's betel leaf tree of Dr. Shashi Auja on pages 22-23. Nikki auntie had just read that out. I too can vouch for it. My father's chemo sessions were cut down and his cancer did not recur. He lived for 16 years after that. After Guruji had said Kalyan Kita, Guruji cured me too of persistent low-grade fever with betel leaf. Uncle has referred to it on page 79. On page 22, Uncle talks of the treatment room at Jalandhar Mandir and Guruji's diagnosis and treatment with a spoon. GK Mandir also had a treatment room where Guruji cured my spondylitis with a spoon. I remember he had asked me to lie down. This was just perhaps the second or the third time we met Guruji. He asked me to lie down in the treatment room and he told me to put my head on one side. And he tapped me with the spoon. And then later he told me, look, thoda sa dard hoega, I'm going to give your neck a jerk. So for a moment I had misgivings, this is the second or third time. And I was wondering, I said, I hope my neck won't snap. But then of course, later one never questioned Guruji. And a twinkling of an eye, that spondylitis pain disappeared. For 1 year regularly, I've been going for all kinds of physiotherapy, and the pain wouldn't go. But then with one snap of the spoon of Guruji's, it was cured forever. We wholeheartedly agree with Raul uncle that Guruji, with his deep compassion, alleviated our sufferings. When my father had gone to Guruji, on the very first day, Guruji asked him to bring us, as our daughter Aditi had a problem. We went to Guruji within a day or two. I was deeply impressed by Guruji's radiance, his loving, beaming, divine grace, so resplendent and so different from the austere gurus that our family had. Guruji blessed Aditi on the fifth visit. Raul uncle refers to it on page 99. Guruji asked Aditi to do Surya Pranam for 51 days. On the 21st day, she said that she could see better. We wanted to thank Guruji, but he left for Punjab. Twice we visited him in Chandigarh, requesting him to bless Aditi more. He said he would do it when he returned to Delhi. Guruji kept his word. What Guruji did for Aditi is beyond logic and reasoning. He proved medical science wrong, and like he used to say, practical mein karke dikhaya. Aditi's vision improved dramatically after Guruji visited our home in June 98. Overnight, and this is no exaggeration, she could read fine print of newspapers, what she couldn't read the night before. And next morning, after Guruji's visit, she could read those easily. We were completely convinced of his divinity, that he was God incarnate. Uncle's description on page 27 of how Guruji cured Brigadier Bhavani Singh of Japur reminds me how our cook's father, suffering from terminal TB, was discharged from hospital as there was very little hope of survival. Guruji blessed him when he visited our home the second time. He too couldn't walk and had to be assisted by two people, just like Brigadier Singh was. He was cured and lived for 10 years after that, even climbing trees, thereby proving all the skeptics who claim that Guruji only cured the rich wrong. Guruji was there for everybody, even ordinary folk, normal mortals. I would like to end by recalling the wonderful, informal, relaxed ambience of the GK Mandir. Though space was constrained, entire congregation was comfortably seated. We would visit 4 p.m. onwards. Everyone was served chai prasad along with some savory or sweet, which the Sangat was allowed to bring then. Few were asked to stay back for Langar Prasad. Guruji distributed, like Nikki Aunty said in Jalandhar, distributed glasses of Amrit himself. So also Roti Prasad at Langar. Guruji spoke more to the Sangat than in later days at Empire Estate. The soulful, meaningful Saki Shabads by Bhai Harban Singh that were most commonly played at the GK Mandir included Swasa di Mala Nal Simra Main Tera Naam, Jind Meriye Mitti di Dheri, Ek Din Chalna Hai, Mere Satguru Ji Kripa Karo, Mera Wale Saiya Rakhi Charna di Kol. These were the ones which were mostly played. On page 29, Raul Uncle talks of Sufism. Nikki Aunty had read that bit out, and how Guruji's sayings and activities reflect these. Sufi music was played after Langar Prasad at Empire State. Favorite among these were Nusrat Fateh Ali Sahab's Nit Khair Mange Sonia Mein Teri, Ya Rasool Allah, Akhiyan Udik Diyan, and Sanu Iqbal Chain Na Aave. Also very commonly played was Daya Karo Kich Meher Upao by Bhai Devinder Singh Ji. Some more observations I could correlate from the book, if there is time. Page
Yes,
20.
we have a lot of time.
Okay.
Mathur,
Page
you
20,
can keep going.
Rahul Uncle talks of how Guruji took on the sufferings of others on himself. I too was once a witness to this at the GK Mandir when Guruji was writhing in pain. He was lying on the floor and he had asked one of the Sangat members to press his head. So he did take on the suffering of all of us. Page 24, Rahul Uncle talks of Guruji taking the Sangat on trips. Like Nikki Aunty also remembers, we too were lucky to be twice a part of this divine experience. Guruji had asked us to come to Chandigarh with him, a couple of times, and what whirlwind, memorable trips. There was so much packed into one day. It's unthinkable now. So many satsangs he took us to. Once I remember there was somebody's wedding, Mehta uncle's daughter's wedding, and then there was satsang at somebody's place, and in between, all the way up and down, all the food that he was plying you with. I mean, what attention! I can't think of any other host who would have been so hospitable as Guruji. From the moment he asked us to come assemble around 5:30 or so at Empire State, and he personally saw who was to sit in which car. There's always some method. And on way back, he would put us into cars. And I realized that it was, according to the direction that you were going in. All people staying close to a particular locality were packed into one. I mean, how did Guruji's mind have all those minute connections? I mean, his thoughtfulness, his hospitality, his love, grace are things that one cannot put into words. Page 25, Rahul Uncle talks of how Guruji blessed Major General Ahuja to become Lieutenant General. Similarly, for Aditi, Guruji had prophesied, Dekhi chal, kahan se kahan pahunchegi. And which is really true. Hum sachi mein dekhte reh gaye. From a girl who was being sent to a special school to where she is now. It's only with Guruji's blessing. I mean, he gave us so much of confidence. He gave us so much of confidence to face our problem and to look after us, to do our duty for her, to do our best. Only possible because of his blessing. My mother too had cancer. When we told Guruji about it, he merely said, Kadwa de. It was suddenly diagnosed and she was told to get it operated immediately. And the afternoon it was diagnosed, evening we had gone to Guruji, and we were a bit rattled. And but there's kuch nahi. He had known all along. And he also knew that there would be no complications because he had blessed her. Also, as he was Stikal-darshi, he could look into the future. And true to his word, again, there was no, in her case, no chemos or anything. It was just the surgery, and that was it. And she also lived for a number of years after that. One particular painting of Guruji that was distributed by Guruji himself at the GK Mandir was the one of Guruji sitting in the clouds. You know, I could just show it. Let me just turn the... Is it visible?
Yes.
Is it visible?
Yes, yes.
This was something that Guruji had distributed himself with his own hands, and very few copies. No, he had given them to my brother, and who, of course, shared it. He gave him about 7, 8 copies. So we were very few. That time, he didn't go give those Swaroops which we got at Empire Estate. They were just these paintings. So that is it. I mean, there's so much one can just talk about Guruji. But thank you, Guruji. Shukrana, Guruji, for all your immense blessings. I can never put them into words. Thank you, Rahul uncle, for this wonderful book and the tremendous insights that you've clarified so many things in my mind. And it's a wonderful book for the initiated and for the uninitiated. You know, you've assembled it so well, talking about the life journey, then gradually talking about Guru Tattva and all the spiritual essence of Guruji. I mean, there's no aspect that you've left out, and it's so beautifully assembled, so beautiful. It's something I think all of us need to read. Thank you, Nikki Aunty, for that wonderful reading. And thank you, Vasan uncle, again.
I'll take a moment, Mathur aunty.
Yes.
One satsang of yours, please.
And we've narrated so many.
So since
many.
we have time right now, and it would be very nice for the Sangat to listen to that. Please.
Okay. I mean, one can't praise Guruji enough. So, like Aditi's problem more or less has been spoken about, you know, because she, let me just add on, I didn't at that point, because I didn't want to stray from the book too much. You know, she was born with visual impairment, and she had 5 eye surgeries at the medical institute. Now, I have a lot of gratitude for all the doctors at AIMS. You know, they worked with a lot of commitment, a lot of hard work, very seasoned, experienced doctors. They did their bit. But then that is the whole thing that Guruji took on from where medical science had left. You know, it was her retina which had been damaged, and we had a paper sent abroad. There was this Fudro Institute in Russia, which at that point was believed to be the best where eye surgeries, eye matters were concerned. So, and London and everybody, and they all said that what was being done at AIMS was the best that could be done. So the best had been done for her. But when we met Guruji, all these eye surgeries were over, and she was still finding it difficult to read. You know, the doctors had said that if she doesn't stumble and she just walks around, finds her way, that is more than enough. Don't expect anything else. So I was sending her to a special school. And then Guruji took on from there, you see. What he did, I mean, how he blessed her, it was really, like he said, practical mein karke dikhaya. Because it's just God who could have done something. I mean, no ordinary mortal, what ordinary mortals were doing at AIMS was not enough. So he took on from there, and he blessed her with that, this thing, you know, and now today she's a special educator. She's did her BSW, MSW, all with the first division. Imagine a special child with all her problems, starting from a special school and going on. So it was just his blessing and his divine grace, for which I'll be eternally grateful. Now, there were so many other things that Guruji did for us. It's there in Light of Divinity, but since you've asked, I would like to talk about how Guruji looked after my husband. He had 3 major accidents. The first one was in 2001, when there was this attack on Parliament House, the terrorist attack. And he had gone to the Parliament House, and, just as soon as he stepped in, the door behind him closed. In fact, the Darban told him, he says, "Sahab, aaj Parliament adjourn ho gayi, aap kyun ja rahe hain?" So he said, "Nahi, mujhe kisi se milna hai, mujhe house mein nahi jana." Those were the last words that this poor Darban spoke. Because immediately, as soon as he entered, he could hear firing, and this poor Darban was the first one to be shut down. As he went down the corridor, all the doors started closing. He thought that it was just, the air gun for they would chase the monkeys away with the air gun. So he thought it was just that. And when he went to this officer's room, it was only when they were watching TV, they realized that it was the Parliament House which was under attack. So they were there for about 6-7 hours till the whole place was clean. And of course, we were because they had put jammers, so we couldn't get through to him. And we got to know about this attack, and I had known that he was there, but then Guruji was there taking care. So, it was kind of such a narrow escape that just 1 second later, this poor Darban was shot down. There were 5 casualties, and this poor man was the first. So this was a very narrow escape. Then once he had gone to Hyderabad on some work, and he was from Hyderabad, he'd gone to Warangal and returning to Hyderabad in a taxi. And this taxi had a head-on collision with a Ashok Leyland truck. And, the taxi was completely battered, absolutely crumpled. But my husband didn't get to know of it. Guruji had put him off to sleep. He had dozed off for 10 minutes. And when he got up, he realized there were these little glasses splinters all over the place. The taxi at a standstill, all villagers surrounding, and he wondered what had happened. And luckily, of course, with Guruji's grace, the driver was okay. The officer along with him was also okay. And there was a jeep following them, the official jeep, and that took them to Hyderabad. And miraculously, again, it's just a slight nick in the tooth. That's all he got in this very heavy collision. So, and Guruji to antaryami the. When I went to thank him the next evening, that day I was too rattled. When I went to thank him at Empire State, even before I could say thank you, he said, "Dekha, bacha lita." Once on that earlier occasion, he said second line. And then on the other occasion, bacha lita. Then the third incident was, we were in Delhi, but he's from J&K cadre, so he'd been posted to Kashmir. And there, very foolishly, he went for a walk after it was a little dark, or just twilight. And when he was walking, this was in the golf course, and he thought it was a particularly safe area. So when he was walking there, he saw a dog, he saw a furry animal coming towards him. And when it was within 2 feet of him, he realized that it was not a dog, but a leopard. And didn't know what to do. He had foolishly left his mobile behind. The security was 2.5 kilometers from where he was at the gate. And he didn't know what to do. And he just said, "Shoo." And strange are Guruji's ways. And the leopard had been swishing its tail, ready to pounce it. And it pounces at the nape of your neck, I believe. So he thought that any moment now is going to attack. And he said, "Shoo," and he started walking towards the gate. But the leopard did not follow him. And Guruji liked this particularly. Raul uncle, I don't know if you remember, he would say, ले शेर वाली कहानी सुना. So he saved Guruji. Guruji saved him thrice from these very, I mean, these are very narrow escapes each time. Now, if I have a moment now, I mean, once it's difficult for me to stop once I start. Just one more incident.
Please don't stop.
Huh? No?
Please don't stop.
2011, I mean, this was all in Guruji's time, but 2011, I was teaching at DPS Mathura Road, and we had shifted to Gurgaon, and I used to go to school in a taxi. There were other children also, and we used to all pile on. So that particular day, it was not our normal driver. It was his nephew. The driver had some work, so he sent his nephew. So this fellow was speeding, and I had checked him about 3-4 times not to drive so rashly, because we were in time, but he didn't listen. At that fatal crossing, that Lodi Road crossing, you know, the one which comes from International Center. So there, he jumped the red line. And I could see the red line bus coming from the left-hand side. And I was sitting on that side, and I thought this was the end. Because it was so close. The bus was right, and obviously he couldn't brake. It hit the taxi. And the taxi went, I think, a kilometer and a half in the opposite direction. And the children were screaming hysterically. And I felt a lot of pain. And I thought, this is the end. But the taxi came to a standstill. And immediately, a lot of lookers on. But one gentleman came forward. And it was, you know, it's amazing what he said. He asked me, he says, Auntie, no, not Auntie, he said, Ma'am, how are you? So I said, I think my back has gone, but please, can you just check on the children? Because they were screaming. Now, this taxi also is completely battered on all sides. The windows were gone, the doors were jammed. So he said, no, they seem to be okay. So then the next words were so amazing. He said, Auntie, आप क्यों चिंता कर रही हैं? आप तो गुरुजी के जाती हैं. मैं तो एक ही दफे जाता हूँ. आप तो जाती रहती हैं. He is going to take care. Now, how on earth did this gentleman, whom I've never seen before and who've never seen again, I keep looking in the Sangat if I can find him again, but he said, and how did he know which Guruji I go to? Guruji had blessed Empire State and given us this little pendant. And I used to always wear a sari, so this must have been in the fold. I never kind of flouted it. So how could he, and anyway, the windows were broken. I mean, the broken windows, how could he see the little pendant? How did he know that it was our Guruji? But the very fact that he said that gave me so much of courage that I at once, you know, I forgot all my pain and I took out my phone. I rang up home. I told the children to ring up their home. And then he asked me, he says, can I do anything for you? Can I take you to the hospital? Mulchand Hospital was just half a kilometer from there. And with my Sarkari brain, I said, no, not Mulchand, take me to RML, which was so unfair. I mean, 10 kilometers away from there. But that's a Sarkari mentality, and I knew the orthopedic doctor there. So I said, if you can. And so sweetly, he said, no, I have my car, I'll take you. Just give me a minute. He got the car, he bundled all the children, he took me, assisted me, got me out of the thing. There, again, arranged for a wheelchair, because by then I just couldn't walk, or even with great difficulty got out of the taxi. So he rang up for the doctor and then asked me, he says, can I go now? So I said, no, if you can just wait a little more for some of the, the guardian, the children's, this thing to come, because I thought that I was going to faint. And for the family to come from Gurgaon would have required an hour. So I said, please. So he very sweetly waited. Fortunately, and old friends of ours who stayed close to the hospital, they reached. So I told him, of course, we thanked him profusely, and I told him to take his number, that we would do it. But it's so surprising that I had to be admitted for 21 days. That's a different story. Took me 4 months to get back. All the ribs were gone. The clavicle was broken. But Guruji's grace, I mean, after a while, I was perfectly okay and started going to work after 4. But, what is amazing again is that for for about 1.5 months, my son and my brother kept trying that number that this gentleman had given us. And it is down in the FIR report, the address and telephone number and everything. So initially it used to say out of reach. Then after 1.5 months, when they got through, they said, no one of this name exists. So it was Guruji himself, I think, who had come and bailed me out of that. I mean, I think, it's really how Guruji is taking care of us even now. Even now, I mean, so much he has done and so much he is doing all the time that I can never, ever thank him enough. Jai Guruji.
Few incidents Nikki auntie had recited while discussing about the book. But Dil To Bharta Nahi, one more.
कौन सा वाला बताओ? वासन अंकल?
Whichever you feel inspired to relate to us right now.
Correct.
Rahul uncle, which one should I tell? Okay.
Nikki
Rahul
aunty,
sir, you are muted. Rahul sir, you are muted.
Nikki aunty, I remember one, but that you will not going to reveal here. I know.
नहीं, वो नहीं. So, okay. So, I'll tell about a small incident that, not small, nothing is small, but on the lighter side. So, this incident happened in Jalandhar when, so it had almost been a year and a half. And I think through this incident, everything about the Jalandhar Mandir will come together. So, we were in Jalandhar and we had started coming. It had been a year. I had started going back to school. That's also a long story on how I got back to school very fast and everything. And one day I was sleeping. I mean, in the night, and I had a very small boil before I slept right next to my nose. It was a very small boil. And in the morning, when I got up, that boil had swollen up and it had closed one eye of mine. So the pus inside had suddenly become so much in the night that it had shut my eye. It was that much. So when I got up in the morning, my father said that, let's quickly go to the OT. Let's go to the army hospital, Jalandhar, and let's just see what the doctors are saying. So we rushed, and the doctor said that, oh, this is very serious. We have to cut it and we have to take the pus out. So we just had started coming, and I had started, getting back to a normal life, and I had started feeling, that I was back and I had gotten my confidence back and everything. So I just, I just said that, why me? I've just started recovering now, another problem. And I was young. I was very young. I was about maybe 13 at that time. And I just told my mom that I want to go to Guruji. And luckily, knowing that the Jalandhar Mandir was so informal, there was never any time. Whenever you wanted to go, you just go. And then Guruji would say, chalo baitho, chai piyo, acha chalo fir 2 ghante baad aa jana. So every day was different. So I just told my mom ki I want to go to Guruji, and I was sobbing, I was howling, and I said, if Guruji says get the operation done, I'll get the operation done. But first I want to go to Guruji. So my mother and I were anyway always party to everything like this. So my mother said, yes, we'll first go to Guruji. So Papa was just trying to be a little bit practical. He said, it's nothing, just get it done. The hospital is, they've opened the OT, the doctors have come. So my mom and me, we both turned around and we told my dad very, sternly that you stay here, we are going, right? We are going to Guruji. And then poor dad, he said, no, come on, let's go to Guruji. So he was just trying to say that it's not such a big deal. They'll just do a cut. But my mother knew that that cut would mean a permanent mark on my face. So we came to Guruji, and Guruji was sitting inside in his usual very, very joyful state. He was sitting around with Sangat, and he was laughing, and he was having conversations. He was sitting in his room on the ground floor, and his room door was open. There were people sitting next to him, niche, and he was sitting on the bed. And so I opened the main entrance door of the Jalandhar Mandir. So me and my mom were standing at the gate, and we were standing at an angle where Guruji could see us from the room, and we were standing outside. And my mom was also crying. I was also crying. And then Guruji just kind of tilted his head. He said, "Come here." He called both of us, and he said in his Punjabi words, he said, "Ki ho gaya?" So I just blurted out. I said, "Guruji ऐसे हो गया." वो कह रहे कट करना है. तो गुरुजी कहते हैं तो की हो गया, कोई ना करा लो. तो ऐसे ठीक है गुरुजी. देन गुरुजी से अच्छा ऐसे करो, पहले जल वो लेकर आओ, जल प्रसाद लेकर आओ, एक पूरा जग में लेकर आओ. So we went inside, we got that jal का पानी. Guruji put his Rudraksh mala. He said, ये पी लो, ये पीते रहो. And he said very sweetly, he said, कोई ना, बड़े प्यार से समझाया गुरुजी ने कि कोई ना करा लो, कुछ नहीं होगा, ठीक है. So I, in my heart of hearts, I said, "ठीक है Guruji," but in my heart of hearts, I really did not want this operation, and I was like, "Guruji, if you want, you can cancel this operation, but it's okay. If you want me to go through it, I will." Right? So this was the conversation that I was having, with Guruji in my mind. And so anyway, we had the Jal Prasad, and Guruji said कि ऐसे करी कि 4 बजे इत्थे आ जाएं दोबारा. He told all three of us. So we were now wondering that if you're going to the hospital, we will have the operation, and how are we supposed to come back at 4 o'clock? But um, his word was the last word. So it crossed our mind that, okay, how's it going to happen? But he said it. So we said, Ji Guruji, and we went. So it was like that. You used to just leave everything to him. So we went back, we went to the hospital, and the people there, the doctors there said that we will not, suddenly they changed the whole plan. And they said that we will not do the operation immediately. First, we'll do a couple of tests, XYZ tests. When we get the report, then we will plan the operation. So again, to put it in short, all the tests happened, everything happened. And we got free to reach Guruji at dot 4 o'clock. We were back in the Jalandhar Mandir at sharp 4. Again, we sat down with Guruji. Guruji at that time was sitting very informally in the main hall in the Jalandhar Mandir. And Guruji said, "Acha chalo chai prasad le aao, chalo samosa or something." He said, "Chalo khao." Then after an hour, he asked, "Ki कितने बजे बुलाया डॉक्टर ने?" तो we told him, "Guruji, ये जो 5:30 या 6 बजे का टाइम था." So Guruji से बोलते, "ठीक है, कोई ना, करा लो." And I was just again thinking in my mind, now also Guruji, कराना ही है. Like I was just muttering in my mind. So Guruji said, मैं भी नाल चलूंगा. And that day Guruji was supposed, Papa का कोई plan था. Papa had to take Guruji somewhere. So उस दिन का पहली plan कभी बना हुआ था. Now Guruji said मैं भी नाल चलूंगा. So we thought कि Guruji will drop me and my mom at hospital, and then Papa would take Guruji where Guruji had to go. So Guruji sat, we got the car ready. He said, "Chalo gaadi lagao." And Guruji came and he sat down in the car with us, and we headed towards the hospital. When we headed towards the hospital, me and mom got out thinking that Guruji will drive away with dad. But Guruji opened the door. Guruji said, "मैं भी चलूंगा ऊपर." So Guruji came into the hospital and he walked with us up where the operation was supposed to happen, and he went and sat down in the waiting room. And he sat there, and then he said कि कह रहे डॉक्टर आ गए? मैंने बोला जी गुरुजी आ रहे हैं. अब की हो रहा है? मैंने बोला बस अब वो तैयार कर रहे हैं. अब की हो रहा है? मैंने बोला गुरुजी वो मेरा वो ड्रेस लेके आ रहे हैं, वो जो ऑपरेशन वाला जो ड्रेस है. So he kept following up, he kept asking, and he kept sitting there for almost half an hour. He kept sitting there, and it was very overwhelming, because I was like, Guruji sitting in this hospital, how do we take care of him here? All the while these thoughts used to come, oh my God, there's no place to make Guruji sit, there's no special chair. These are the kind of thoughts that just to keep coming to my mind at that. I was 13 at that time, and I was like, but anyway, Guruji kept having a conversation. Chal koi na, kar lo. Aa gaye ab doctor. When everything was ready, when the doctors had come, the OT had opened, and I was supposed to be taken into the operation theater. Guruji got up, and we were standing outside, and Guruji said, "Ki koi na." Nahi, Guruji came, he put his hand on my cheek, and he said that andar sukhda nahi pya. So he said it again. He looked at me and my mom with that smile of his, which was a very naughty smile in a way that you call it. And he looked at me and he looked at my mother and he said, Andar sukda nahi pya, which was not a question, it was a statement. And luckily, me and my mom, we knew what Guruji was trying to say. And he didn't say it directly, but he said it indirectly. And Guruji very smilingly and in that really happy state and, in that this thing, he walked away. He said, "Theek hai, main chal liya fir." And he took my dad and they both left. And me and mom were standing there in front. And the moment the doctor said, "Come on, let's go in." So me and mom both blurted out that we are not getting this operation done. We don't want to get this operation done. So the doctors are looking at us and they were so angry and they were like, "How can you not get the operation done? It's so dangerous. It will reach the brain, this, that." We said, "No, we are not getting it done." So they got out that form and they said, "Sign on this. It is at your own risk." And so my mother signed and they were very angry. But we signed, and from there we ran to the Jalandhar Mandir back to Guruji. And I don't know whether Guruji was already there or Guruji came later because he had gone somewhere with my dad. But the moment Guruji saw me and the moment Guruji met me, Guruji said, Guruji was so happy and proud about the whole incident that he turned around and he said, told people sitting there, कि ये सारे डॉक्टरों ਨੂੰ सुना के आ गए and देख सब कुछ सुना के आ गई ये इथे. And I looked at Guruji, which was again a validation. Of course, we did the right thing. And of course, it had to be done that way. But he was so happy about the fact that probably we understood what he was trying to say and we did not question it. We did not let the doubt even come for a second. And that was the beauty of Guruji, because the moment you would show faith in whatever he was saying, he would give you double, triple, 1,000 times back. And then this incident became one of his favorite incidents for a very long time. That time we never used to do too much of this satsang sharing because it was a very informal this thing. But Guruji used to tell me बहुत बार कि चल वो सुना, वो doctor ने सुना. There was a Dr. Kaushik in the team and he told me and mom कि Dr. Kaushik को मेरे पास लेकर आओ, उससे जाके मिलो और उसको दिखाओ कि कैसे ठीक हो गया है और उसको मेरे पास लेके आओ. So we did go. Initially he was reluctant because he knew that it had become serious and that's why we had come to him. But when he saw that it had defied all medical science and everything, then he was curious and then he became Guruji's follower, Dr. Kaushik, from there. And this was one incident which is very, very close and it just brought out everything possible. How to kind of, I think, keep your faith, to how to surrender, how to understand what Guruji is trying to say, and be ready yet to do what he wills to do. So if he said operation, then maybe we would have to do it. And so it's not necessary what way he adopts or what is the way he blesses us. Whatever he does, we just need his blessings. That's it. Jai Guruji.
Jai Guruji, thank you. Dr. Raul, time to interact a bit with you. Please unmute yourself, sir. Yeah. The book is for the initiated, the uninitiated, absolutely raw, and people who have seen Guruji, who have not seen Guruji. So that's the verdict of people who have read it, who have sort of taken the inputs and done some analysis. And incidentally, both of us have a scientific background. You and me, both of us. If somebody asks, completely uninitiated person asks you, that you are a rational person, You are an educated person, you are a doctorate, you have knowledge of several streams of education. Tell me, Guruji, a saint, Guruji, a Mahapurush, Guruji, a human being, Guruji, one of the Devi Devtas, Guruji, Parampita Paramatma. I have heard Urvashi Auntie's answer, so don't copy from there. And if somebody asks you to please share with that person, where do you categorize Guruji?
In the last book reading also, similar kind of question was asked about being a rational person, how you place Guruji as a Mahapurush or a Lord Shiva. So I had given a detailed view about that, give the limitations of scientific methods to understand spiritualism. It has to be experienced. You have to rely on the experience, the people who have seen, who have experienced spiritual, you can say, height. That is what in our own scriptures they say, that the sages, they have realized God. So you just listen to them, try to follow the path guided by them, then you try to reach that kind of level. It is not that in a scientific method, if you do X, Y, Z, then the result, something will come out. No. It is an experiential thing you have to experience, but for that you need to follow a life which is guided by the spiritual leaders like our Guruji. So this is this kind of view I can express to any person who is uninitiated, who does not know about Guruji, and I can say that yes, you now, if you listen to the satsangs, you read the books about Guruji, not only this book, other books, try to internalize what the way you should lead your life. It is not like people say, just surrender to Guruji. I don't understand that word surrender. What does that mean? Can anybody understand what is surrender means? Surrender means a lot of things. For me, for my view, it is a lot of things. It is the way you think, the way you conduct yourself in the society, what you do, what you earn, and the way you earn your money for your survival. All these are interconnected. And when you relate in each moment, in each of your thought and each of your activity to God, that is what is surrender all about. People say, you surrender to Guruji, everything will be taken care of. That is a very, very simplistic way of understanding Guruji.
Yes, it is very simple in saying, it is very, very complex when you think of even how to plan to do that. Now, because we have been witness to so many satsangs, people have got such things which are beyond any Devi Devta, beyond any Sant Mahatma, beyond anything. And he would know even before you telling him what is happening, and he knew what is going to happen, what courses are we going to take. So one of those early days, sitting in the Sangat, I was just debating with myself. And I saw Guruji just biting his nails. He was biting his nails like a small child does. So I think to myself, है ता रब हैगा, पर दसन दी कोशिश कर रहे हैं, मैं नहीं हैगा. He is the God himself, but he is trying to show to us that he is not. And he was looking elsewhere. Suddenly, he rotates his head, gives a very hard look to me, smiles, and then looks away. So that was for me a confirmation. Yes, what I thought is correct. What I believe is correct. And there is no reasoning, no rationality, no logic that I need to process to believe that. Because जो भी परमपिता परमात्मा के गुण बताए हैं, सर्वव्यापी है, सर्वज्ञाता है, सर्वशक्तिमान है, वो सभी गुण इस अपने आप को महापुरुष कहने वाले व्यक्ति में दिखे हैं और बारंबार दिखे हैं, तो इसमें संशय की, शक की कोई बात नहीं है. So that's my perspective, and completely agree. He revives you, he inspires you to write, he inspires me to write. On this I have written, तेरी अजमतों का जिक्र करने के लिए लिखता हूँ. I write to speak of your greatness. तेरी अजमतों का जिक्र करने के लिए लिखता हूँ, तेरी रहमतों का शुक्र करने के लिए लिखता हूँ. तेरी अजमतों का जिक्र करने के लिए लिखता हूँ, तेरी रहमतों का शुक्र करने के लिए लिखता हूँ. एक तू ही तो है जो देखता है अच्छी बसर हो सबकी. यू आर द ओनली वन हु थिंक्स ऑफ एवरीबडीज वेलफेयर. एक तू ही तो है जो देखता है अच्छी बसर हो सबकी. जाहिर ये राज मैं सब पर करने को लिखता हूँ. जाहिर ये राज मैं सब पर करने को लिखता हूँ. सो जय गुरु जी. राहुल अंकल, कॉन्ग्रेचुलेशंस टू यू for making Guruji's word come true with a lot of labor, hard work, research and analysis, and then being very clear about the fact that yes, I come from a particular stream of knowledge which has its own limitations. Guruji took me into another arena which was new for me and took me to a level that I could understand this also, that also, and I have been able to pay my tribute to that great Guruji, Almighty himself personified. Jai Guruji.
जय गुरुजी.
जय गुरुजी महाराज. अंकल आज्ञा है?
आज्ञा तो सर आपका फोरम है, मैं आपको आज्ञा नहीं दे सकता, आप मुझे आज्ञा दे सकते हैं.
महाराज का ये गुरुजी महाराज का फोरम है.
हाँ जी.
एनीवेज, इट वाज ए अगेन मेमोरेबल सेशन, और मल्टीलिंगुअल सेवादार टीम की तरफ से राहुल अंकल बहुत बहुत आशीर्वाद. गुरुजी महाराज की तरफ से आपको, आकाश सेठी अंकल, निक्की मल्होत्रा आंटी जी, ललित माथुर आंटी जी और समूचे संगत परिवार बहुत प्यार से सुनते हैं हम सब. नेक्स्ट सैटरडे को अगेन वी विल मीट टू विटनेस अनदर मेमोरेबल सेशन फ्रॉम गुरुजी महाराज. अभी हम सब गुरुजी महाराज से आज्ञा लेंगे. जय गुरुजी. शुक्राना गुरुजी.
जय गुरुजी. शुक्राना गुरुजी.